Here's Joy Reid, and she's back with her racist antics. Every night she's there with her racist antics, claiming white Christians threaten American democracy. Go.
And then there is this other version of citizenship, which essentially says that the purpose of a society is not to advance the lot of us, but really to advance me and people like me. And I have no obligation to the greater society because anyone other than me should not be my problem. It's a really extreme form of great man libertarianism. It's Ayn Randism mixed with fascism plus a Brazil and Moscow chaser. So if people are poor or hungry, that's on them.
Ayn Rand, a libertarian, Hayek, Mises, Friedman, Adam Smith, so many, David Hume, so many great minds, and she just dumps on them. The country that feeds the most people is the United States. The country, even our poor people are better fed than poor people on any other continent on the world. We ship food overseas to the third world to help feed them. This is the place that produces food, excess food. We've never seen anything like this in the history of humanity. Never. And she trashes it. I don't know how you look around, you wake up in this country and hate it so thoroughly and ignore all the facts. Me Tooism she talks about, really? Well, look at these Marxist societies and the people who run them. It's all about Me Tooism and power and shuffling for power and who's going to be on the Politburo and who's going to be doing this, that, and the other thing. Well, the rest of society is left out. Tell me what Communist China is doing to Hong Kong, even today. Is that for the greater good? Tell me when China rounds up 2 million Uyghurs and sends them to concentration camps and does unspeakable things to them, is that for the greater good? Look at Venezuela, where people are starving to death and they send out militia and regular army to beat them and kill them if they dare to speak out, where people are trying to get out of that country by the millions. Is that for the greater good? Can you show me one place that focuses on the greater good in that way, that has a greater good? No. This is very complicated for some people to understand, but when you respect the individual, when you respect individual humanity, when you allow people to pursue their interests, what motivates them and so forth, they contribute to society, they contribute wealth to society, they volunteer to society, they create families, they contribute to the civil society. When you have one, two, or a relative handful of people trying to engineer society and re-engineer human nature, you have death and poverty. That's what you have. But for the most part, she just spewed out what Marxism stands for in a very sort of basic way. Go ahead.
Now, if I choose, I'll give to charity because that will make me feel good and me look good. But you can't make me help other people. It's a version of citizenship that depends not just on toddler-level selfishness, but on the existence of a group of special citizens who must always win and be appeased in order for things to be, quote, fair. And secondary citizens and non-citizens whose feelings just do not count. It's a society designed to make me, the member of the special citizen group, and people like me, feel good all the time. And who are these special citizens? Why, they're white so-called Christian conservatives who feel like this country was built by them for them. And so everyone but them needs to suck it up and let them have their way.
White Christian conservatives. White Christian conservatives. These are the people who think they're special and better than anybody else. These are the people who are selfish and only represent themselves. White Christian conservatives. She really means European Protestants. You ever been to Arlington Cemetery? Many of you have. Some of you have family buried there. I don't think Joy Reid has. Acre after acre, row after row of those brave men, those heroes who served this country. The overwhelming majority of whom are white male Christians. Not all, but the overwhelming majority. You see the headstones? You see the crosses? Oh, they're Stars of David too, don't get me wrong. Overwhelmingly white male Christians. Were they privileged? Did they contribute to society? Were they only about themselves? Or did they give the ultimate to protect this country so Joy Reid could go on there, become a millionaire, and rail against them and their faith and their skin color? White male Christians. You ever been to a Civil War battlefield? I'm awestruck when I go to these battlefields and I realize, and you think about and you read about what took place in a relatively small area. The horrific battles that took place. There were approximately 50,000 casualties at Gettysburg. Mostly white men fighting white men. And most of the white men were with the Union. And they fought. They killed other men as they were killed. To do what? To do two things. To keep the Union together and to end slavery. Those men that died, those men that screamed bloody murder, who were wounded on the battlefield, but nothing could be done for them. Was that white privilege too? I'm just curious. Was that white privilege? No, I don't think so. And it's unfortunate we have to talk this way, and we have to remind ourselves of our own history when we're dealing with people like this, in critical race theory, and the white dominant culture, and on and on and on. When we send our troops to one place or another, sometimes they're involved in defending people who aren't white. In fact, often they're involved in defending people who aren't white from this white dominant society. You see, America, we're all red-blooded. We're a very diverse society, all colors, all backgrounds, all faiths. But we're Americans. We're supposed to be Americans. People like this don't believe that, but we're Americans. We are a wonderful people. We are an imperfect country, but more perfect than any other, and a great country, and a big country with a lot of people. We have laws, imperfectly applied, but intended to be just. We have a Bill of Rights, imperfectly applied, but intended to protect the individual, no matter whom that individual is. It doesn't talk about race in the Bill of Rights. We have the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments adopted after the Civil War to stamp out slavery, to enshrine equality, due process for everybody. Those amendments became part of the Constitution as a result of 3/4 of the state legislatures adopting them. You can't have an amendment without the legislature approving them in either way, Article 5 or the typical amendment process. That's just the way it is. We're a fantastic people. And to have Comcast give a platform to somebody like this, and she's not alone, and CNN, owned by AT&T, to give a platform of like people, to hear the Democrat Party, which has done more to try and destroy the American dream for millions of people, from slavery and segregation and Jim Crow, to poll taxes, to its embrace now of what they call democratic socialism, but what is really American Marxism. The Democrat Party has been a very, very evil force in this country, with some exceptions, but not enough. And it remains a grave threat today, the greatest threat we face. If we are weak within, we cannot defend ourselves against China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, and the rest of our enemies that are salivating under this administration to figure out ways to gain the upper hand. The Democrat Party and the media, there's no difference between them. They say exactly the same thing. They support exactly the same thing. And so the First Amendment is teetering. It's teetering. This is why they want to crush dissent, crush the competition of ideas in every corner of this society, not just in the media, but in schools, in public, and on social media, because they have embraced this notion of American Marxism, that America's bad, they have all the best ideas, and they use liberty to destroy liberty, and they use the Constitution to destroy the Constitution.
Want to see more? Sign up for Levin TV.